Hello everybody, Skywarped33 here, and today we're doing a quick little showcase on my new shell pieces, I don't know, Toy Freddy something or other. So essentially, if you guys haven't seen my previous toy animatronic video, there'll be a link at the end of this one, but in that one I go in a little bit more detail on the actual figurine itself, but essentially I made a universal figurine that allows me to make shell pieces, so I can have multiple shell pieces for the same figurine to make it more than one character, rather than having to make brand new figurines for every single character, because there's quite a few of them. And yeah, so this is the second Five Nights at Freddy's themed shell that I've made for the figurine. I made two Bendy and the Ink Machine ones, so I did modify it a little bit. So originally these joints at the hips right here were these Lego person joints, so essentially I cut it apart and used the joints for his joints. But essentially, it kind of started getting worse and worse, so it wouldn't hold up his foot anymore. So I had to replace it with more of a ratchet joint, so I went ahead and did that. So there's a little bit, it's really subtle, but there's like a slight bit more gap right here than there used to be, just because the ratchet joint is a little longer, but in doing so it makes it so that his feet don't fall down when he walks. So but yeah, so essentially he's virtually identical to the Toy Bonnie figurine. I'll put a little side by side real quick. As you can see, they look very similar. There are a few subtle differences that you wouldn't really be able to tell unless you actually saw the figure in person, or if the specific shot that I'm using him for kind of calls for it. But essentially, if you look at the front of him, he's got a bit more of a belly than Toy Bonnie does, but as you can kind of see, Toy Bonnie's is a lot more flat, and Toy Freddy's sticks out a lot more. So luckily, he didn't lose any of his poseability, unlike the Bendy and the Ink Machine ones. So he's still fully poseable, just like the Toy Bonnie one. Once I get more of these shell pieces made, you guys will kind of figure out that the poseability is essentially the same on all of them. Now, lastly, for a couple of the more subtle differences, on Toy Bonnie, there's a lot of separate pieces like this. So this is one of his shin pieces with the knee pad, and as you can see, it's two separate pieces. But on Toy Bonnie's shoulder, it's one piece connected by fabric that kind of snaps around like so, and it would go up on his shoulder. When I went to build Toy Freddy, I decided to try to make it a little bit easier on myself. And essentially, I built all of his limbs, instead of being separate pieces like this, I built them all with connecting fabric so that there's less seams, but also it makes it easier for me to not falsely mix and match them, because sometimes with Toy Bonnie, since all of the pieces are separately, they were kind of designed to go with a specific piece, so I kind of have to sort through them and it takes a few minutes. But essentially, with having them all connected, it makes that no longer a problem. Here's an example. As you can kind of see on the side of his legs, there's no seams going down, and there's a slight seam on the inside, but that basically allows me to pop it off, and now he's got one piece that instead of it being two pieces, it's just one piece kind of a thing. Like I said earlier, if you guys want to see more detail on the actual inside endoskeleton figurine part, you should watch the Toy Bonnie video, because I go into a lot more detail on that one. The only other real differences with Toy Freddy and Toy Bonnie is the hands are slightly different, because his palm is a little bit shorter than Toy Bonnie's. And then the feet are also slightly different. I made Toy Freddy's toes a little bit stubbier, because I thought it would be funny that Toy Bonnie has really long toes, and then Toy Freddy just has little beans, essentially. And then, just because I know I'm gonna get a lot of comments, if you're not familiar with why I don't make heads in this scale, it's because I build puppet heads and then use green screen and stop motion to animate them together and shrink the puppet head to be the correct size for the body. Fun fact, here is Toy Freddy's head in comparison to his body. It's about the size of his body, but I'm able to film this on green screen and shrink it down and make it look more like the head is the correct size. Let's see if we can do some sort of perspective thing. So you can kind of get the idea where I'll make it look roughly the correct size. But then in doing so, I'll be able to move Toy Freddy's head around and have him talk and stuff without having to separately stop motion animate his head. And for those of you that have really good eyes, you could probably tell that I updated Toy Freddy's eyes. Originally, I made the irises really large, but I decided to paint back over them and make them more moderate size, and I feel like that makes the head itself look a lot better in total. Now before I end this video, I'm going to do a quick edit just showing you guys the finished look of Toy Freddy. As you can see, he looks like Toy Freddy. I think he's pretty cool. And yeah, alrighty guys, that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope you had a good one, and I'll see you on the next one. God bless. Bye-bye now.